this idea started with, we should write our own music, for two pianos. And with Bach inventions, it just, the word already kind of invites you to go a bit further, to invent, reinvent.
I wasn't involved in the process of recomposing them, but I was involved in the process of rediscovering them through Chia-Chia's imagination. And that was actually really fun to see what can you see further into this music, because obviously they're very classical Baroque pieces, and then suddenly you can sense some new rhythms there, you can reimagine extra lines on top of them. So that was really fun for me as a pianist, discovering those things. For me, a lot of them, like the beginnings, are all about what state of mind I'm in, and some of them I have to play a bit like nonchalant, with abandonment and whatnot. Some of them have to be like really spiky right away, and like just putting yourself in this state is sometimes quite difficult. And also a lot of them, the beginnings seem similar, but they're actually completely different moods. So yeah, that's the tricky part. And I think also in these particular pieces, there is this effect of the fact that there are not as many conventions, so we can really follow our musical ear to achieve something rather than thinking, oh, but the composer wrote that, so we're supposed to do this and that. I think it's even more involving our listening in a very natural way, and that's actually quite a blessing, because you have to, so often in normal pieces, have to balance what you would want to do with what the composer very specifically wrote, and then you sometimes feel like, oh no, but I can't do that. But here we really can, actually, because it's being created in the moment, right?
Yes. I think like two pianos is it's a very special like chamber music group setting. I think it's very different from piano four hands, where you're really trying to sound as one.
Yeah.
I think two pianos often is a lot about fun, I think. For some, I think the second piano was more of like an atmospheric background. And sometimes I think the two pianos are equally important, so I kind of took over the polyphonic structure of Bach to have it more as an interplay kind of thing. And sometimes I wanted to have a more kind of orchestral feel of it, so I would try to cover all the registers of the piano. I kind of would divide them up equally, so that it sounds a bit like, more surround, kind of. Yeah, I think a lot of the inspiration comes from mainstream music, actually, that I listen casually, and also trying to fuse it with Baroque classical style. Actually, I have a fondness with electronic music, actually. And I think in electronic music, besides it being minimalistic, I think it's a lot about creating really magical textures, actually. And that for me was a big inspiration source. I don't know if I managed to create something, maybe a more unusual sound for two pianos that you would maybe not find usually in the classical repertoire.
And this was also actually a lot what was involved in our rehearsal process. Like, do we play it more like pop, or do we play it more like Baroque?
Yeah.
So there was a lot of decisions on how to touch the piano, like in which style are we going to interpret this particular part. And it has been a whole process as well throughout our rehearsals. We would start on one edge of the extreme and then we would go to the other, and then we would eventually discover that you can really do a nice mixture of those styles and approaches.
Yes, I think for us it was also really out of our comfort zone because we are classically trained pianists. So I think we have a very like certain way of approaching touch or articulation, and I think with this we actually both had to explore a bit, more outside and rethink how we want to create a sound, right?
Yeah. And even last week we were still thinking like, oh my goodness, are we allowed to do that? Like that seems so extreme.
Yeah, right. Especially approaching Bach, which is like the god of everything, and then to have the guts, I guess, to deconstruct it and reinvent it like that. Sometimes I feel a bit like maybe it's a bit daring, but then on the other hand I'm like, okay, forget it. I just want to have fun, let's have fun. And
I really think it holds together and it works because the ideas are really strong, and I'm grateful that you didn't shy away just because of the conventions that were around it and really went for a full-blown idea each time.